What if the world's most powerful river didn't begin in a stormy mountain range, but in a garden of papyrus? Did you know snow falls just kilometers from the equator, clinging to peaks that touch the sky? And in this same land, lions don't just rule the plains. They climb trees to rest in the sun. This isn't fiction. It's Uganda. A land where the Nile is born, where crater lakes shimmer beneath extinct volcanoes, and where ancient rainforests still echo with the calls of chimpanzees. From the golden savannas of Queen Elizabeth to the misty peaks of the Rwenzori, Uganda is not what you expect. And that's exactly why it stays with you. So, how did this small country come to hold some of Earth's rarest wonders? And why do travelers who visit Uganda never see Africa the same way again? Let's begin the journey. Beneath the hum of boda-bodas and the slow churn of traffic through dust and diesel, Kampala pulses with contradiction. Once a city perched on 7 sacred hills, each echoing a different chapter of empire, faith, and resistance. Today, it spills far beyond those bounds, its heart stretched thin by the weight of dreams. Here, glass-fronted malls and colonial cathedrals share air with makeshift homes and open drains. Coffee and cotton leave for distant ports, while the city wrestles with water it can't drink and floods it can't predict. The streets swarm, not with chaos, but with energy. Markets spill into roads. Taxi parks breathe like living creatures. Kampala doesn't move, it surges. Yet climb Rubaga at dawn, or stand in the shade of Kabuli's White Mosque at midday, and the noise thins. You begin to hear it, what the hills remember. The treaties signed, the missions founded, the cathedrals raised not in haste, but in faith. The weight of kingdoms, quietly buried beneath concrete and glass. Kampala is not just Uganda's capital. It is a mirror, reflecting both resilience and rupture, heritage and hustle. A city forever rebuilding itself, never quite the same hill twice. Now, before we move on to explore Uganda's breathtaking national parks, here's a fun question for you. Which legendary river begins its journey in Uganda? Comment your answer below. There are places on Earth that seem older than time itself. Bwindi is one of them. Tucked along the misty slopes of Uganda's southwestern frontier, where the land sinks into the ancient cracks of the Great Rift Valley, lies a forest so dense, so tangled in green silence, that even light must find its way carefully. Here, where vines coil around time-worn trunks and morning fog, weaves through the canopy like memory. The forest keeps its secrets. This is Bwindi, darkness in the local tongue. A name not given lightly. For over 25,000 years, this primeval sanctuary has stood as a living archive of life, sheltering more than 400 species of plants, countless creatures that never left, and perhaps most revered of all, the mountain gorilla. Nearly half of the world's remaining population of these gentle giants finds refuge here. To walk among them, to lock eyes with a being whose gaze seems to carry the weight of centuries, is not a thrill, it is a reckoning. Paths snake upward through slippery valleys and wind-worn ridges, demanding both humility and strength. But those who persevere are rewarded with something few places on earth still offer: a rare and silent communion with the wild, untouched. At dawn, Lake Victoria is not a lake. It is a mirror, vast, silver, and unbroken, reflecting a sky still deciding whether to rain or shine. Straddling the borders of Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, this inland sea stretches far beyond what the eye can hold. Over 68,000 square kilometers of water glisten across a shallow basin, carved gently into the high plateau of East Africa. It is a world unto itself, its surface alive with breeze, its shores lined with quiet villages, fishing boats, and the murmurs of generations. The lake was once known as Ukarewe, long before a British explorer named it for his queen. But to the communities who've lived along its edges for centuries, it is far more than a landmark on a map. It is their source, their rhythm, their sustenance. And yet, for all its might, Lake Victoria is intimate, always within reach, always present. A reservoir of both the Nile and of memory, where stories drift with the wind and time slows to the pace of ripples against the shore. If you are watching this, please click the subscribe button in the corner of the screen. It's completely free, but means a lot to us. In the far northeastern reaches of Uganda, where the earth hardens under the sun and the wind speaks in dust and silence, lies a land shaped by resilience, Karamoja. Once sealed off by colonial decree, Karamoja stood behind invisible walls for generations. Its people, the proud Karamojong, lived on their own terms, herders of vast cattle herds, warriors by necessity, custodians of traditions older than any border drawn on a map. When peace finally returned in 2011, it did not erase the scars, but it revealed the soul. Today, the region rises, not just in recovery, but in quiet pride. Here, villages called Manyata, encircled homesteads of mud, wood and will, still hum with ancestral songs. Men wear beads that speak of lineage, women dance stories into the dust, and fires burn through the night, with tales passed from elder to child. To come to Karamoja is not simply to visit. To listen to a culture rooted in the rhythm of hooves and drum beats, in body markings and vibrant attire, in ceremonies that outlast hardship. With a population now over 1.6 million, including smaller ethnic groups like the Pokot, Tepeth, and Ik, Karamoja is not a forgotten outpost, but a cultural frontier. The name itself, Ekar Ngimor, the old men can walk no further, speaks not of surrender, but of arrival. Of a place where stories end and begin again. Not far from the borders of Rwanda, a lake unfolds like a natural amphitheater, its shoreline twisting around 29 distinct islands, each framed by slopes, carved into steps of farmland. This is Lake Bunyonyi, one of Uganda's highest and most scenic lakes, sitting at nearly 2,000 meters above sea level. Though often missed on conventional tourist lists, Bunyonyi is a favorite among travelers seeking quiet days after gorilla tracking in nearby Bwindi. What sets it apart isn't just the view, it's the experience. The water is free from bilharzia, hippos, and crocodiles, making it safe for swimming. Local canoes glide between islands, offering close encounters with wetland bird life and daily lakeside life. Visitors often explore on foot too. Guided walks weave through hillside villages, where market stalls brim with fruit, crafts, and warm greetings. The climate stays cool year-round, with misty mornings and crisp evenings, ideal for reading by a veranda, enjoying local crayfish, or simply watching the hills turn gold at sunset. For those drawn to nature but craving human connection too, Bunyonyi offers both, not in grandeur, but in detail, in the rustle of banana leaves, the rhythm of paddles, and the quiet welcome of a place that feels lived in, not staged. On the southeastern slopes of Kampala, Bugolobi stretches across its namesake hill with a quiet confidence. Just 7 kilometers from the city's heart, the neighborhood offers a shift in tempo, an escape that feels neither far nor free. Mornings begin with the rustle of market stalls, where traders arrange baskets of fruit, colorful fabrics, and warm, fragrant street food. The Bugolobi market remains a touchpoint for local flavor, unfiltered and alive. By afternoon, leafy roads fill with the hum of daily life, children in uniform, boda-bodas weaving through traffic, and cafes easing into the lull between lunch and dusk. Bugolobi's personality is layered. Colonial-era homes rest alongside modern apartment complexes. Upscale restaurants and lively pubs echo just a stone's throw from quiet residential lanes. Toward the summit of the hill, homes grow grander, gazing over rooftops that roll into the industrial outskirts of Kampala. What sets the neighborhood apart is its balance, moments of stillness nested within a dynamic urban landscape. Have you ever visited here? If yes, comment 2. If not, comment 4! Set amid Uganda's southwestern highlands, Kabale is a district shaped by altitude, mist, and memory. Resting at over 1,200 meters above sea level, its slopes fold into a tapestry of ridges and green valleys that stretch toward the Rwandan border, an ever-shifting horizon of blue hills and red earth. Resting at over 1,200 meters above sea level, its slopes fold into a tapestry of ridges and green valleys that stretch toward the Rwandan border, an ever-shifting horizon of blue hills and red earth. Locals call it Castone, borrowing from the Rukiga word Kabale, meaning small stone, a humble name for a place with such dramatic topography. Kabale town itself hums with quiet purpose. Universities, churches, and colonial-era structures sit alongside markets where produce overflows in every color. This is not a place of spectacle, but of steady depth. In Kabale, beauty is not staged, it's lived. Before the Nile becomes calm, it rages. At Murchison Falls, the river, broad and ancient, funnels itself into a stone throat barely 8 meters wide, then crashes down 45 meters into a boiling pool below. The sound is deafening. The spray hangs in the air like breath held too long. And the earth, it trembles. This is the heart of Uganda's largest national park, 3,893 square kilometers of raw savanna, riverine forest, and golden plains that roll into the horizon. It's a place where elephants gather at the riverbanks like pilgrims, where giraffes step through tall grass with measured grace, and where crocodiles, massive and unmoving, bask in the Nile's aftershock. Over 75 mammal species roam these lands: lion, leopard, hartebeest, Uganda kob, buffalo. Nearly 800 chimpanzees dwell in the southern forests of Budongo. And above it all, in the trees and on the water, more than 550 bird species call out. Among them, the rare shoebill, lurking near the Albert Delta like a prehistoric sentinel. You can approach the falls by boat, rising slowly against the current, past pods of hippos and flocks of fish eagles, or drive to the top and watch the Nile vanish beneath your feet. This isn't just a waterfall. It's a reckoning. Far in Uganda's northeastern frontier, where the land grows wide and quiet beneath the sun, Kidepo Valley National Park rests in splendid isolation. Bordered by South Sudan, and only 5 kilometers from Kenya. The park spans over 1,400 square kilometers of savanna, acacia woodland, and distant ridgelines that shift color with the light. First gazetted in 1962, it remains one of East Africa's last true wildernesses, untamed, unspoiled, and deeply alive. In the dry season, the Naru's Valley becomes the park's beating heart, its remaining waterholes drawing large gatherings of buffalo, zebra, and Uganda kob, while lions lounge on rocky outcrops, barely blinking. Elephant numbers have grown steadily here, from just 200 in the 1990s to nearly 1,000 today, and Rothschild's giraffes, once nearly gone, now move gracefully across the plains in recovering herds. The bird life is no less extraordinary. Over 470 species, including some seen nowhere else in Uganda, make Kidepo a dream for birdwatchers. But wildlife is only part of the story. The park also borders communities of the Karamoja and Acholi people, whose ways of life echo the land itself, resilient, rooted, and rich in tradition. Visitors can take part in cultural walks, hikes through mountain valleys, and game drives that feel more like quiet pilgrimages than tourist outings. On the foothills of Mount Elgon, where mist gathers on ridgelines and rivers carve quiet paths through volcanic rock, Sipi Falls tumbles gracefully into Uganda's eastern landscape. Located about 277 kilometers from Kampala in Kapchorwa district and just shy of the Kenyan border, this trio of waterfalls spills from different altitudes, each more enchanting than the last. The highest, known as the main fall, drops 100 meters into a basin of wind and spray, often framed by rainbows that rise with the sun. Locals trace the name Sipi to a wild plant called sep, once used to treat fevers and still found along the banks of the river, weaving medicine into mythology. The surrounding slopes are cool and lush, stitched with Arabica coffee plantations and hiking trails that open onto sweeping views of Lake Kyoga and the Karamoja lowlands. Climbers come for abseiling and rock adventures. Dreamers come to unwind beneath the falling water's rhythm. There are mountains that rise in silence, and then there are the Rwenzoris, which seem to emerge from mist and myth. Known for centuries as the Mountains of the Moon, this majestic range stretches along Uganda's western frontier, brushing the edge of the Congo and slicing the sky with snow-covered peaks, just kilometers from the equator. Formed not by fire but by tectonic force, these mountains are the source of the Nile and a lifeline for the land below. It begins quietly, where Lake Victoria lets go and the river begins to remember its name. In Jinja, eastern Uganda, the Nile emerges from the lake in a gentle swirl, then gathers speed, carving its way northward on a journey that spans over 6,600 kilometers, all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. It's the longest river in Africa and the second longest on Earth. Yet what makes the Nile in Uganda unforgettable is not just its size, but its soul. Along its early course, the river curves through lush gardens, craft stalls, and sacred monuments, including one marking the spot where Mahatma Gandhi's ashes were scattered. It tumbles through the chaos of white water at Bugolobi Falls, powers the turbines at dams downstream, and winds gracefully through fishing villages, sugar plantations, and children waving from the shore. In the north, the Nile gathers force and plunges through the heart of Murchison Falls National Park, roaring through an 8-meter gorge before bursting into mist. Beyond that, it flows past Karamoja Falls and onward towards South Sudan, always moving, always giving. For Uganda, the Nile is more than a river. It is power, livelihood, memory, and motion, a ribbon of life that connects land, culture, and spirit. Jinja is the kind of city whose identity was shaped as much by geography as by ambition. Sitting at the northern edge of Lake Victoria, just 81 kilometers east of Kampala, it is the point where the Nile begins its long journey north, an origin that has anchored both legend and economy for over a century. Founded by the British in 1901 and reimagined by urban planners like Ernst May in the mid-20th century, Jinja was never just a lakeside town. It was a blueprint for modern Uganda. The completion of the Owen Falls Dam in 1954 submerged the original Ripon Falls, but electrified the city's future. Power surged from the Nile into the first steel rolling mill of East Africa, into tobacco factories and grain plants, into the lives of workers and railway lines, connecting Jinja to Kampala and the port of A second hydroelectric station, Kira, followed in 1999, reinforcing the city's role as an industrial heartland. Yet, even amid turbines and smokestacks, the city holds quiet memory. Its name, Jinja, comes from Jinja, the stone, spoken in both Luganda and Lusoga, a reminder of the rocks and rapids that once defined the landscape before the dams arrived. You can still walk the gardens near the Nile's source, visit the monument where Gandhi's ashes were scattered, or board a small boat that glides past the spot where lake water becomes river water. The Ssese Islands drift like a forgotten chain across the northwest corner of Lake Victoria, scattered over quiet water and touched by wind. "84 in number, they stretch between forested hills and sandy shores, rising and falling with the lake's breath. Cut off from the mainland, untouched by urgency, Ssese feels less like a destination and more like a gentle escape from time itself. Gulu lies in northern Uganda, where red earth meets wide skies and sunflower fields stretch toward the horizon. Once marked by war and displacement, the town has rebuilt itself into a thriving commercial hub, where banks, schools, and markets now hum with daily life. It remains the agricultural heartbeat of the Akoli region, known for cotton, tobacco, and the rhythm of harvests. And beneath its modern surface runs a quiet current of resilience, a place that has learned not just to endure, but to grow. Rising like a slumbering giant from the heart of East Africa, Mount Elgon is not merely a mountain, it is a monument to time itself, sculpted by 24 million years of fire, wind, and silence. In the folds of its forests and the whispers of its wind, the Bachisu people still hear the voice of their ancestor Masaba, a name that breathes life into every trail and every stone. Wider than imagination, Elgon's colossal 4,000 square kilometers make it the largest volcanic base on Earth, a vast, breathing canvas where waterfalls tumble, caves echo, and cloud forests hum with life. Nature is layered like poetry. Rainforests give way to moorlands, birds trace silent arcs in the mist, and elephants vanish into salt-streaked caves, as if retreating into myth. Unlike the towering triumphs of Kilimanjaro, Elgon offers something quieter, more intimate, a slow unfolding of wonder where the journey is not about the summit, but about what you discover along the way. Lake Albert, the northernmost jewel of the Western Rift Valley, lies peacefully on the border between Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Surrounding communities rely heavily on fishing and small-scale farming, though many still lack access to clean water, proper sanitation, and adequate health care. The lake has a rich history of exploration. First visited by European Samuel Baker in 1864, who named it after Prince Albert and documented his journey in the Albert Nyanza. The Uganda Highlands form a vast mountainous region, stretching across both eastern and western parts of the country, with elevations ranging from 1,000 to 4,000 meters. These highlands were shaped by tectonic activity along the East African Rift System, resulting in breathtaking landscapes of deep valleys and towering peaks. The western section features the majestic Rwenzori Mountains, while the eastern highlands are dominated by the volcanic Mount Elgon. Thanks to rich volcanic soil and a cool climate, the region supports extensive agriculture, especially the cultivation of coffee and tea. These fertile highlands contributed to Winston Churchill's description of Uganda as the Pearl of Africa. Annual rainfall in the area often exceeds 1,500 millimeters, feeding a network of rivers that ultimately flow into the Nile. The high elevation also creates unique microclimates, with temperatures dropping significantly during the night. Scattered patches of indigenous forest provide habitat for rare wildlife, including the iconic mountain gorillas found in Bwindi Impenetrable Forest. Hillsides throughout the region have been carefully terraced by small-scale farmers, forming a scenic patchwork of green fields. These terraces not only support sustainable farming, but also help prevent soil erosion, preserving the delicate balance of the highland ecosystem. Bukasa sits quietly on the edge of Kampala, offering a calm escape just minutes from the city's liveliest neighborhoods. It's not flashy or touristy, and that's exactly what makes it feel special. One moment, you're weaving through local markets on a boda. The next, you're by the shores of Lake Victoria, watching fishermen pull in their nets. Just up the hill, Muyenga's Tank Hill delivers sweeping views of Kampala. Bring your camera, or better yet, just take it in. History whispers from nearby Bunyonyi, where peaceful gardens surround the Martyrs' Shrine, a place that leaves you surprisingly moved. And when you're ready to crash, Bukasa welcomes you back with quiet streets, cool breezes, and the sound of crickets. It's the kind of place that doesn't try too hard to impress, but somehow it does anyway. Stay a little longer than you planned. You'll see what I mean. The most accessible peak is Mount Moroto in Karamoja, and a prime example of Uganda's diverse landscapes. Mount Moroto, located in eastern Uganda, is a striking peak in the eastern Rift Valley, known for its rugged beauty and the challenging treks it offers. Climbers often base themselves at Karamoja Safari Camp in Moroto town, where the adventure begins. It straddles the equator, stretches between two Great Lakes, and holds within its borders a river of elephants, birds, and memory. Queen Elizabeth National Park is found in western Uganda, bordered by Lake George and Lake Albert, with the Kazinga Channel slicing through its 700 square miles of savanna, wetland, forest, and Crater Lake. The name changed in 1954 after Queen Elizabeth II visited, but the land had long been known for its density of life and its deep connection to the people who live near it. This is Uganda's most visited national park, and for good reason. It's home to over 95 mammal species, from tree-climbing lions in Ssese to hippos lining the Kazinga Channel. Ten primate species dwell in its forested zones, including chimpanzees. And for birders, it's sacred ground, 618 species recorded, the highest count in Africa and 6th in the world. But it's not one thing that defines Queen Elizabeth. It's the sum of many lives crossing paths. The sun sinks low over the Nile, turning its surface to molten copper as fishing boats drift past stands of papyrus. Somewhere in the distance, a gorilla's low rumble echoes through the forest, while flame trees sway along red dust roads. This is Uganda, not a postcard, but a living canvas, painted fresh with every step you take.